I would never consider myself hungry. I don't think it's an easy thing to admit that you need help. It's hard for me to even say that now that we actually needed the help from others.
Hello?
Hey Carolyn, how's it going?
Oh, it's not bad.
How's teaching?
You know, I really miss teaching, both you and your brother, because you made my life fun, and I really miss that. But it's still okay. What about you? What have you been up to lately?
Well, I've been working on this video about hunger in America.
Oh, really?
I thought I knew what hunger meant before I started working on this, especially after my trips to Africa and China. And in all honesty, I couldn't believe how hunger could exist in such an affluent country like the US. After some research on hunger, things made even less sense to me. Get this, there are 35 million Americans who go to bed hungry each night. Yet 96 million pounds of food are thrown away each year in the US alone. On average, we eat 5 pounds a day, which means about 1,800 pounds a year, which means 96 million pounds of wasted food could have fed over 50 million people for the whole year. That's more than the 35 million people who are hungry.
How we can coexist with the idea that there's so much excess food, and then we know that there are people who are hungry. I don't know how we can coexist with that. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Even so, I still wanted to find out more about what hunger meant and who these 35 million people were. I went around asking people their thoughts to see if they could help me define hunger and if they knew where I could find it.
Hunger, I believe, is when you have nothing to eat. You just don't have nothing. You would do anything to get food.
An ability to feed yourself and your family.
Hunger is a shortage of food.
It's a problem that you don't really see very much of.
You don't really see it in everyday life, but I mean, if you actually look, you could probably see it.
Down through Main Street, through the ghettos.
In the southern areas, homeless.
Downtown LA.
At the entrance of freeways.
The homeless population in the US account for about 3.5 million. That's only a tenth of the 35 million people I was looking for. Well, I wasn't done searching. I went to the missions and even to the local food bank to see what people had to say. Early at 5:45 in the morning.
I believe we have the best breakfast on Skid.
I know. Who's the cook? Can you introduce me to the cook?
Yeah.
We're gonna meet the cook.
This is
I
our
need to
cook.
shake your hand, the cook.
Yeah, hi. We've seen a lot of influx of families now. A lot of it. It's like overcrowded. Like last year for Thanksgiving we did like 3,700 meals.
3,700.
This year we're probably predicting close to 5.
Wow. I realized that the issue of hunger was right under my nose.
Well, my family grew up with donations from food banks.
How could it seem so invisible?
By the grace of God, I'm not on Skid Row myself.
I mean, even my roommate Emily was struggling with food at one point, while I was living with her.
When I had graduated from college and I first became a teacher, there was this big gap in between paychecks, essentially, that I didn't anticipate or plan for. And I was like, very hesitant to say that out loud. If I said, like, I can't afford groceries this week, that would just, I don't know what would, that would just be really hard for me to say to anybody.
And Carolyn, that's when I realized that I had to stop. I had to stop my search for those 35 million people because I had to come to terms with the fact that I had been one of them. I grew up in a house of 7 and there's 4 of us kids, my parents and my grandma. We all lived in the same house. My father is the only breadwinner. He brought in the income for the house. My mom was a housewife. A little over a year ago, my dad was laid off. And that was right when I graduated, when we found out about that. And I didn't have a job yet. My brothers were about to go to college, and it was just a very hard time. But another layer to that was that my dad was actually really sick too at that time. He actually collapsed, and he had to go to the hospital. Our entire family is as if all of our lives stopped in order to help my dad, and it was just a very difficult time.
Yeah. He. So, my dad passed away early this year.
So it became our job to do what he did, yet we had no, like, we just had, like, no idea, like, what we're doing at all, but we tried.
It was during that time, though, when we were just, had no idea what to do. The whole community came together.
This is why